There have been a few things out in the public sphere that, as a Minister of Youth Development and Sport, I am duty-bound to address. First and foremost, the notion that there is no school sports this term is a lie. It's an absolute lie. There is no truth to that. In fact, we currently have schools football, we currently have schools netball, and we currently have road race events happening in schools to culminate with the primary school road race championship and the secondary school road race championship. January 6th, we'll see the commencement of cricket in our school's competition, and then we will see the addition of some additional competitions. I am very, very disappointed that we have a society where individuals believe that the only way to get by is to lie. I'm not sure what example we are setting for the next generation, especially when the facts are so available. I would challenge anybody in the media today to go to the VG playing field and you would see schools football as we speak. The results of the matches in the netball and football have been posted on the Ministry of Youth Development and Sports page. A cursory look at the web page will show you that results have been posted for over a week and a half. Results of matches played in Soufrière, Fiji, Complex, surrounding areas, Miku Court for netball. Everybody in St. Lucia can access that information by just going to the Ministry of Youth Development and Sports, St. Lucia Facebook page. So, the notion that the Ministry of Youth Development and Sports did not have the financing to have school sports this term is an absolute and blatant lie. There's no truth to it. The notion that the Ministry of Youth Development and Sport took money earmarked for school sports and spent it on the Julian Alfred Concert and Reward is an absolute salacious, fallacious lie. There is no truth to it. The Ministry of Finance financed all the celebrations for Julian Alfred. The rewards that are given are coming from the Ministry of Finance. The Ministry of Youth Development and Sports have its own budget for school sports. That school sports budget cannot be touched for anything else than school sports. That as well is easily verifiable. It is sad, very sad, that persons who are interested in being leaders of this land, and it's not just one, multiple members of the opposition have gone on to absolutely spread untruth as it pertains to youth and sports development in this land. And it is sad that the only way we can show our next generation to get anywhere is to believe that you must lie. And then we speak about crime, we speak about deviance, we speak about the moral fabric of our society. Yet those individuals charged with setting the example see no other way to do it but to be dishonest. Questions?
Yes. Having stated that, I know that there was some, shall we say, contention with some PE teachers in some schools between your ministry and them. Can you give us an update as to what exactly was the issue there and was it eventually solved?
Thank you very much. As you may be aware, the best period, so to speak, of youth and sports, sort of not just development but cohesion, was when the Ministry of Youth and Sports and the Ministry of Education fell under one ministry. So you had during Mario Michel's time that you had the Ministry of Education, Human Resource Development, Youth and Sport. And so the coordination of things such as school sports would have fallen under one ministry. We have a dynamic where you have a Ministry of Youth and Sports with 4 youth and sports officers, 4 sports officers responsible for doing so much. We have a situation where one of our youth and sports officers fell sick at the most inopportune time. That provided somewhat of a delay. You also have to take into consideration what type of year we had. The Ministry of Youth Development and Sport had perhaps the busiest year you could ever ask a Ministry of Youth and Sports in our history. In 2024, we were preparing for a World Cup. Then we hosted the World Cup. We were preparing for Olympics. And then we saw what happened at the Olympics. And so we were preparing for the return of Julian Alfred. We were preparing for CPL. And you saw what happened at CPL. And then you had a situation where some glitches. There were some glitches. But to make it seem as if we were incapable of dealing with those glitches and have what we have going on now is absolutely ludicrous. We are transitioning as a ministry, and I will tell you, I have spoken since I became Minister of Sport about what is needed to really chart the course for proper sports development in this nation. And what we are doing is changing the whole dynamic. We are not thinking outside of the box. We are throwing the box. We are developing our own box. And after we develop that own box, we are thinking outside of it. And so we are putting together a school sports commission made up of representatives from the Ministry of Education, representatives from Youth and Sports, representatives from the diaspora, the police, and all and sundry, to really take sports at schools to another level. We are transitioning. And when you transition in, it doesn't just happen overnight. You have to do it through phases. You have to sit down at the table. You have to have meetings. You have to argue. You have to then decide what you're doing. And sometimes the decision taken may be incorrect at the time. Go back to the table, the drawing board, and get it right. And so what we are doing as a ministry is putting the dynamics together to have a different school sports program that we will see all the benefits of in our near future. We've shifted from having our island champs during the week to having it on the weekend. We have been having discussions with Earl Bollock, with Stuart Charles Favre, about how we continue to develop schools football with the SLFA and possibly move some of the matches, some of the historic matches, to the weekends. It is almost impossible to continue to do school sports the way we've done it for the last 40 years and see the results that we want. Forcing school sports with all those schools activities within a 5-day, a 4-day period in a week has not worked. And so we are channeling a different way. Part of the School Sports Commission will see somebody who is responsible for developing all the different alumni associations, specifically to bring back persons from schools who have a sports background to develop sports within their respective schools, to fund sports within their respective schools, to ensure that at the end of the day we have a proper structure for each school individually as it pertains to sport. And so we are going through this right now. We've seen huge rewards from having our island champs on the weekend. And I will just end this particular question by saying it has sent chills to the opposition who believe that the only way they can make any headway in what's happening in youth and sports development in this nation is to just stand up on a podium and just make the headlines that the media is going to push out by lying.
But just going back to my particular question about the PE teachers, was there a conflict and was it addressed?
So we have to answer the question in terms of education and sport. We do have PE teachers that would request fixture by a certain time. And I have said in times past, school sports is every year. We should not be waiting until a particular time to have a proper fixture. But even then, when you're the minister or you're dealing with the Ministry of Youth and Sport, you cannot directly engage persons from the Ministry of Education unless you go for a chief education officer or a senior official. So just in putting a fixture together, certain schools may be ready, but if you put in a fixture, as you would understand, with 5 teams in a group, if one school is not ready or has not indicated their interest or has not shown that they will be participating, then you have a delay because it affects the entire process. So there were some issues with the PE Teachers Association, and they did have some legitimate gripes. But at the end of the day, good sense prevailed. We had a meeting with the Minister of Education. We had discussions at the ministries, and now we have school sports. We have the competitions ongoing, and we're expecting that within a week and a half, that most of the competitions would be concluded, and then we'll be having a proper sit-down with a school sports commission to ensure that we continue to move the school sports agenda in the right direction.
Okay, so just to clarify, all the events like including Intersect that happens in so is all the things on track?
Every single school has sent in their date for the inter-house competition, and all have been scheduled. We have had a lot of work at the Mindofele Park, and we are at the final stages of instilling lights at the Mindofele Park. Darren Sammy is available, except for a couple of cricket matches we're expecting, available. And so all, from the information given to me by my PS, all the secondary schools especially, they've provided their date for the inter-house competitions, and we will be having inter-house and intersect island champs as per usual.
Okay.
Fact.
I heard some talk about some of these events filtering into the third term. Is there any truth to that?
We always have events in the third term. What we did do was we moved one of the events from this term, since we had this hectic schedule, into next term, which did not affect anybody at all. The same students that were there in this term, they will be there come January. And so they will be participating in their sport of choice. There is nothing untoward, there's nothing significant, there's nothing to be worried about as it pertains to school sports in this country occurring. My responsibility is to ensure that school sports develops at a higher level. And that is what I'm going to do as the minister.
So we have the CPL homecoming coming up, and people are arguing that it's a franchise and the government should not be investing so much in a homecoming celebration for them. What are your thoughts on this?
Everybody has an opinion. I, as minister, believe that the CPL franchise, the Kings, they have done significant work for cricket development in St. Lucia. On Saturday, I had to leave my Yamaha Beach to attend a high performance center celebration of the 1-year anniversary. We have been developing cricket at another level. We have 11 cricketers for the first time in our history playing international cricket, 11 on that level. The St. Lucia Kings, they provided gear, they provided funding, they provided trips to some of our coaches so we can further develop cricket in this nation. The St. Lucia Kings, they've invested in some of our premier cricketers. Shadrach Descott, Akim Ogis, Johnson Charles, in times past Johnny Eugene, McKenny Clark, just to name a few. If we have gotten to this momentous occasion where we actually finally won the CPL, with so many of our young players on the fringes of breaking into that CPL team, how much damage can we do by showing our appreciation to the franchise, to the cricketers who played? How much damage will it do to have a celebration for our achievement? an achievement that has never happened in this nation's history. And so for me, I respect the opinions of others, but I respectfully disagree. And I believe we are doing the right thing by getting all of St. Lucia together for the celebration. We'll be having an announcement of how we're going to further show appreciation for Johnson Charles specifically for all his accomplishments throughout the years for St. Lucia as a representative. We're going to call on everybody to just be part of the cricket competition, the cricket match between the West Indies and England at the Darren Sammy on the 14th, 16th, and 18th.
And you mentioned the Yamaha Sunfest. Can you speak to that as well?
First of all, as a parliamentary rep for Grosley, about almost a year and a half ago, myself along with Emma Hippolyte and Alfred Prosper, we went over to Martinique where we had the preliminary conversations about Yamaha Fest. I must say the conversations were very, very in-depth. We took our time. Like I said, our initial conversations was a year and a half ago. We took our time. The Ministry of Tourism Events Company, they really worked assiduously with the organizers. They put in a very, very good program, which included an event in Soufrière. We planned for one of the biggest Friday nights we've seen in years. I had meetings with the Vendors Association as well. We saw scores, thousands of people booking Airbnbs. And of course, at the event, during the time I was there, let's just say it was fascinating. Carnival atmosphere on the beach, the boats in the water, and people really coming together and enjoy each other. I saw all walks of life there. I saw rich, I saw poor, I saw middle class, I saw young, I saw elderly. I saw persons that had not been talking for a long time because I'm still very much in touch with the ghettos, stones throw away from each other, and it was incident free. And I must say hats off to all the organizers for getting this thing done. I look forward to next year, and I look forward to the people of Grosley continuing to benefit from some of the activities put in place by this government to really spur economic income.
Did it have any impact on Friday Fish Fest?
No, it did, a positive impact, because what we had was on Friday night, everybody who was on island from Dominica, Guadeloupe, Martinique, they want to experience Grosley Friday night. And we had, vendors, most of them were sold out. They sold all the drinks. I could walk through Grosley right now and meet vendors, and I think they will invite me to the house for macaroni and cheese and breadfruit and all that sort of stuff, because they really had a good time. And I think the economic activities something like a Yamaha Fest brings is something that we have to encourage as often as possible.
Where are we now with the noise pollution legislation?
Well, the noise pollution legislation was laid in cabinet, in Parliament 2 Tuesdays ago for its first reading. And so the document is ready for public consumption. Everybody from the media can actually read through it. What you will see is some sort of legislation when it comes to decibel levels, which is what most of St. Lucia is interested in. As I said, it's not a bill that will be popular, because you can really imagine no other MP before me touched it. They left it because it's something with dire consequences. You may lose political influence because you may be affecting one sector and, being perceived as, gravitating towards another. But for me as MP, I didn't come to just make popular decisions. I came to make decisions. And so I will always speak my mind. I will always do what I think is best for the majority of people. And so I would invite the media to have a look at that legislation. I would invite everybody in Rodney Bay that has been calling the offices, in Bonte, in Cap Estate. And the legislation is not for Grosley, That's the funny thing. It's for all of St. Lucia. But I'm happy that I took the lead on it. And now we finally have it as first reading in Parliament. And so the debate will ensue. Like I said, no legislation is perfect. I do have some concerns. And you will hear, of course, the opposition and some of my colleagues express some concerns, but it is something that we had to do, and legislation is always there to be amended.
Yeah. Youth Awards is coming up.
Yes.
Was the nomination process this year different? I didn't hear much about it. Like last year, I had a lot in the build-up. I know there was, a link available for nominations, but I didn't hear much this year. Then I saw nominees. So I want to know what the process was like, and what do you have scheduled for Youth Awards as well?
Well, there was no big difference in the process. Perhaps, again, with a small ministry, sometimes we will be really on top in terms of the publicity of all our events. I mean, I don't think people know that. We've been punching as a ministry above our weight for the last 3.5 years, like no other. I mean, let's just put this in perspective. We have only 4 sports officers on island, and we have 3 youth officers on island. We have youth workers spread throughout the actual country. But in terms of the organization for these events, we've obviously had to, get some outside individuals to come in, events company to come in. But we've been punching above our weight, and I think we've been doing very well. So we did have a similar nomination process, and I can tell you on the 9th, I wanted to make sure I got the date correct for everybody. Saturday, the 9th of November, this Saturday, we will be seeing Youth Awards, very special year for our young people, at the pavilion in Rodney Bay. We're expecting a very, very good event. It's under the patronage of our Prime Minister, who unfortunately may not be on island. But it should be an event that all of the media and all of St. Lucia should pay attention to. It will be on our media, our webpage as well, and so people could definitely be part of it.
Yeah, Mr. Minister, just briefly to fall back on the decibel, the noise pollution.
Mm-hmm.
We know there was a concern group from Rodney Bay who were involved in the initial discussion. So is there, would you say, a time frame? You say now it's for public consumption. Would there be a time frame with these people, especially the residents from that area, when we started?
Well, the time frame has already been there because we put it's in Parliament. So we had the first reading 2 weeks ago, and apparently not many people paid attention to that Parliament sitting. But we did have the first reading of that amendment, of the amendment to the noise pollution bill. And once it's laid in Parliament, the course of action is normally for all the media and everybody to get a hold of it, go through it. If you are not too acquainted with legal jargons, get somebody to give you an opinion on how it works, and then you have the second reading, which really is the debate. So I'm certainly hoping that very soon, I am hoping very soon that we will have that second reading in Parliament, where I, as the Minister for Youth and Parliamentary Rep for Grosley, will opine on all the dynamics of that legislation, and thereafter the second and third reading pretty much is in one session. And so very soon I'm hoping that we can have a very peaceful Christmas. I'm hoping. I'm not the one who decides. I think everybody knows that. I don't go above my pay grade, but I'm hoping that everybody can have a very nice Christmas.
So putting together the framework, what was the suggestions and the proposals from these groups?
Of course. I personally had meetings with those groups. The police, Grosley Police, they were also involved. They definitely kept me abreast with all the conversations, and of course the site visits in that community until it became overly political. Some of the conversations were more along political lines. I pretty much stepped back and did the negotiations, the conversations with the different stakeholders and the Attorney General's chambers, and provided as much input as I could on what the legislation should look like. We also consulted a number of other countries to see what their decibel levels were, which is pretty much the area of contention. Before, this legislation would not have existed in its current form because we did not have the technology to actually measure decibels. But right now, any one of us can put an app down on our phone and go to Rodney Bay and say whether or not this individual is in contravention of the legislation that we are about to pass in terms of the decibel levels. Most of the conversation will be on decibel levels, whether or not it's too low for ultra lounge or whether it is too high for Joe Public. These are the conversations you're going to have. You're going to have conversations as to whether or not a vehicle being driven, passing through a neighborhood should be at a particular decibel level, and whether or not it should be lower. Whether or not a vehicle that is altered with a hi-fi should be considered to be at a particular level and not others. So, I mean, I can tell you, it's been 3 years since I've been in, and the discussion has been thorough. There is no one answer. There is no best answer. Everybody will not be happy. you cannot make everybody happy with some of the things you have to do as a minister. But I'm happy we've done it, and whenever there are adjustments to be made, we'll make it.
Any updates on Skill 758?
Skill 758, that's a good one. The last update I had was last week. The roadshow was supposed to have commenced very, very soon. The app is up and running, and so individuals can actually access the app and put in their qualifications, their skills, with the hopes of getting employment and a better standard of living through St. Lucia, the region, and the rest of the world. Yeah? Thank you all so much. Let me make sure I told you all everything there. Just for your information, the concert, the return to address your question, the return of the St. Lucia Kings. As we know, we're going to have the concert. That's on the 12th of November. So we're going to start off with the school section in terms of all the school cricket teams, whether it's primary school and secondary school. They'll be given first opportunity to meet with the players from the St. Lucia Kings and other West Indians who may be on island. So I think that's to answer your question as well as to whether or not it's a worthwhile investment. I think that would be very well. That would be a big motivation for our young people to actually get their autographs, get their pictures. And so we'll be starting that from 2 p.m. at the Derek Walcott Square on November 12th. And then at 4 p.m., Bacchanal. Local acts, local talent on display into the night, and the announcement for what we are doing to further show appreciation for Johnson Charles.
So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. Good afternoon, sorry. Good afternoon. Thanks for being here. Maybe we have a few stories as the Pal Rep and also as the Minister for Commerce. As a parliamentary rep, I want to report that we had a very successful second Kudme Sufuye Sunday. And you may recall that last year, Soufre hosted Junekeol, and we felt that we needed to have a legacy project for our constituency. And we introduced Kudme Sufuye in November. And what we did this year was to have a repeat. And why is that important for us? It's important because we felt it was critical to try to bring back that part of our culture that has built our society. And we did it last year, it was successful. We called upon the community again this year. We started, I want to say, some of the projects that we dealt with yesterday. We dealt with the dismantling of a derelict home on High Street. The owners actually did not have the resources to deal with that, and it was actually a risk to the community. So the staff of the Soufre Regional Development Foundation took that as a project. So they've dismantled that place and cleaned it up. We had another project on the Cemetery Road, again where we had an empty lot that had persons use it as a dumping site for building material. That was cleared. We had the council beautifying the Soufre Square, and that is ongoing. It started yesterday, but it's ongoing, it's not finished. And we had the Soufre Regional Development Foundation also beautifying that area between Courts, Soufre, going up to the Palmis Road. And you could see, if you watch the Facebook page and the postings, they've transformed that wall, the entry wall to that road, in addition to planting flowers and palms. That project will continue. The other projects that we had were a lot of construction work, construction of roads, needing cement and everything else. That has to be deferred to this coming weekend simply because of a shortage of cement. So all the other communities will have coup de main souffriere this coming weekend to do the physical structural work. There was only one community that actually had time to get the cement, and that was the Sulphur Spring project. And there they are going to build on a community step footpath, which is steps to different homes. That was started yesterday, and it will continue on to the next weekend. So I want to take this moment to thank the coordinator, Ms. Sanbryce. I want to thank the Soufriere Regional Development Foundation, the Soufriere Constituency Council, and all the persons who came out to assist. There was cleaning at different areas, Upper Victoria Street, the guys in the Upper Boulevard Street. Persons came out to beautify the area. And that's an issue that we really want to take root in the community. And not only in Soufriere, but throughout the country. That it is only when we work together that we will progress.
There was a homicide in your constituency.
That's what I've heard. I do not have all the information. I know the gentleman, Jarok, as an elderly gentleman. I've heard that somebody gave him a lash of a stone. I do not have the information at the moment. So I would prefer to make comments after I have all the facts on that particular event. But it is a sad event. We have lost an individual in the community. And I need to take this moment to express condolences to his family.
Expo, the Taiwan Trade Show just ended. What can you say about how it went?
Well, I need to say that we were very excited about it, very elated. We had different firms, over 70 firms participating, the majority from St. Lucia, but we had some Taiwanese firms participating online, but at least we had 3 firms in person participating. The feedback that we had both on Friday, we had an official opening on the Thursday night, and we had, for the Friday, we started with a discussion, a business forum on AI, facilitated by the Taiwanese. So far, the feedback that we had and what we saw is very encouraging. The Taiwanese St. Lucia Trade Show is always an exhibition that allows our small manufacturers to showcase what they can do. What was good about it, for me at least, was the quality of the items that were exhibited. So we have to work, when we see that, we have to work to see how we upscale, how we help them upscale whatever they are producing.
I believe about a week or 2 ago, Consumer Affairs sent out a notice saying that customers may have noticed an increase in some of the items in the basket of control goods due to landed costs. And can you just tell us a bit more on that and which items may be affected?
Well, the Consumer Affairs Department is monitoring the basket of goods in the island, because that is what you use to determine the consumer price index. But what you're seeing at one point, at the beginning of the Ukraine-Russian war and COVID, you saw a significant increase in freight prices. And then we saw the freight prices declining. And now you're seeing another shift again. That is why that announcement was made. But what I need to tell you is that within the Ministry of Commerce and within the Consumer Affairs Department, we are taking greater steps to ensure that we monitor more effectively what is happening on the ground with the issue of pricing. It is critical for us. So I need to give the consumers the comfort of knowing that we at the Ministry of Commerce is on the ground. We have our inspectors on the ground working, and that's not only for food, but also for building material, hardware, and so on, to ensure that we get the best prices for the consumer.
Okay, Chamber of Commerce has, I think, will be meeting or has met with SLAS, but there has been some issues is receiving. Are you aware of the situation?
The meeting is supposed to take place this coming Thursday. And yeah, this coming Thursday. And what is happening, we have all the, you had first a private, an operator of a private warehouse who actually closed his operations, and that impacted storage on the wharf. You also would have, in addition to that now, the entire operation with GPH. So I think it is very good for all the critical parties to come together so that the business community understands the storage that is available on the ports, that SPLASPLA will have an opportunity to speak directly to the business owners so that we understand the logistics, so that everybody is on board. When everybody has the information, then they make better decisions so that we do not have shortages on island.
Your constituency is one of the communities hosting Black Hat football. I want to speak to you about the commercial elevation possibly that this tournament brings to your constituency.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So now almost Sufra is almost the home for Black Hat football. So I'm extremely thankful for this. I want to take this moment to thank Sheikh Christopher and his team for the work that they have done in football generally. This year, I think, is the 20th anniversary of Black Hat football. Sufra is the defending champions as well. We had games last week. This weekend, I think we had games on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Sufra played last night and won the match, so they've moved on to the semifinals. But yes, my vendors are extremely happy with the opportunity that they're getting to sell their items and to ensure that there is survival. I need to thank as well the other patrons. For example, last night we had Canries, and Canries came down with all their supporters. Yeah, all the teams come with all their supporters. I really want to thank everybody who have participated. At least as well, I want to thank the Sufra public for turning out in large numbers all the time. And for me as well as a parliamentary rep, the fact that we have the environment in the stadium is very joyous. You don't have any type of fights or anything like that. People are enjoying themselves, and then we're having good quality football. So I'm extremely happy, but I'm going to be even happier when Sufra bring back the trophy.
Madam Minister, I know some time ago you had an extension of the deadline to the MSMEs to come in, and register their businesses. Plus, you had a big fair this year, which was the fair at the Boulevard.
Yes.
How productive has that been in terms of expansion of the businesses, in terms of the products, the quality of the products, and now that we have expansion Lucia, giving them the options, to export some of the products. How good is it for the manufacturing sector, in terms of the production, in terms of expansion of the businesses and things?
Well, you're correct that we extended the deadline for the MSME loan program. The last time I checked, maybe about a few weeks ago, we had about 500 small businesses that benefited from between the first and the second call-in. The evaluation committee continues to work to complete the evaluation of the applications that they've received. The information we have that for the second call-in alone, we would need over $1 million to at least meet the requirements. So we have exhausted the original $8.5 million that we had assigned to the program. And when we had that assigned to the program, we had it on the 3 call-ins. Now this is just the second call-in. And we have technically, based on projections, we will need more than the 8.5 just to meet applications under the second call-in. So I was very pleased, those of you who listened to the Honorable Prime Minister's address at the opening of the Taiwanese Trade Show and the opening of Business Month on Thursday night, he gave a commitment that he would make an increased allocation to the MSME loan program as well as to the youth economy. So I want to encourage persons who have had the application there under the second call-in to be a little patient. That work continues by the evaluation committee. But I also want to encourage those persons who had a business idea and have not presented it to please continue working on it, because there will be a third call-in sometime. So please work on whatever ideas that they may have for the third call-in. I want to say that based on what we have seen and some of the exhibits that you saw at the Taiwanese and Lucia Taiwan Trade Show are also the beneficiaries of the MSME loan program as well as the youth program. So we are extremely pleased as to the impact of that program on the business community in general. And it's when I look at the data that we have, men and women have benefited almost 50-50 on that program.
And in terms of the role, the influence of the exports and Lucia, it's a good collaboration, but once the ministry does the basic groundwork, exports and Lucia.
Well, as you know, Exports and Lucia is part of my ministry. They report to the Ministry of Commerce, as well as the St. Lucia Bureau of Standards. And those two institutions work together with us to ensure that what we are doing through the MSME loan program is given legs. Because when we look, for example, when a manufacturer, we provided assistance, technical assistance, and that manufacturer is ready to upscale, whether it is in the packaging, and that is where the Bureau comes in to assist them with the packaging and labeling, or with Exports and Lucia coming in to actually physically sometimes give them the assistance to get the packaging for them, because sometimes our small manufacturers do not have the resources to design a proper package and to order the initial packaging. And Exports and Lucia comes and provide that assistance. They also go out to the market to explore and to see where we get in markets on behalf of our small businesses. And it's not only the manufacturers, but we also do that. They also do that on behalf of our service providers. The last time I knew they did it they assisted some of the Calypsonians. So they're doing different things. Now we have taken a position. Exports and Lucia did quite a bit of work with us in terms of the CMOS industry. It's a lot of work that we did to bring it where it is there now. Now we are working with the Bureau of Standards to ensure that our CMOS, manufacturers, cultivators, meet the standards. That is one thing we continue to tell them, that it is one thing to have a product. Now your next item is to maintain it. Process it with the right quality, right standards, so that it gets to the international market without being challenged, especially the US market. Right now, we've given Exports and Lucia the mandate to work with our soap manufacturers. Because when you walk around, we have several manufacturers of soap. And now we need to soap and other body products. And they need a lot of assistance, especially with the testing of soaps and so on, because that has, you're putting that on your skin, so it has implications. So we know that we have to go in there and provide them with the assistance that is required, the testing that is required, the packaging that is required, so that that industry takes off. That is what we promise the people, and as usual, government of St. Lucia, putting the people of St. Lucia first. Have I covered everything there? I just need to remind you that it is business month. November is business month. And within my ministry, they will be sharing with you, I think they have done so, the schedule of activities for the month. For example, we had the official launch, as I said, on Thursday night of Business Month. We had the training of our small businesses in AI. And then we have, today, we have under our Love St. Lucia campaign, which is trying to encourage St. Lucians to consume and to purchase what is made locally. We have the teams going out, and the teams being procurement officers from the business community, from the hotels, and from government departments, visiting our manufacturers. So they are actually, we had 2 buses left this morning. They are actually visiting the factories. They will go to the factory to see how it is done, to understand it, to make business-to-business connections, because that is what is critical for us. We need you, we need all of us to understand that if we do not support our local manufacturers, they cannot grow. We need to support them. And I know, I guess, all of you now would identify with our little Love St. Lucia campaign, when the brand, the little sign that you see when you enter the supermarket, it is a little heart with the national colors. Right, so we have that. We have an entire month of activities. We were supposed to have had our church service on Thursday, but I think we're shifting that date because it's clashing with another major ministry SLASPA event that you asked earlier about. So we're changing the date on that because we want to really honor about 7 women who have contributed to commerce and industry.